The people, I remember first getting over there, and the people just seemed really, really kind of gruff. And I was always thinking that they were like always yelling at me until I got to know them more, got to know the language better, and then I eventually just realized the people over there, they're just big pineapples. They're just kind of like a little bit hard on the outside, a little bit spiny, but once you get into the inside, they're so sweet, and they're the sweetest people in the world, and you end up loving them to death. You really, really miss that. They're very straightforward. They'll tell you like it is. They don't beat around the bush, or they don't wear any masks. Like if you ask them, how are you doing? Typical answer here in America is always like fine, even though sometimes maybe you're not. But over there, they will tell you if they're not doing fine. They'll go on a long like tangent or rant on what's going wrong, or they'll tell you if it's great too. So they're very honest people. Um, uh, Beer is a big part of their culture. Alcohol in general. Sadly, you see a lot of drunks, but and then families, it's kind of tough, but there's not too many complete families there. Most of it's just a mom with her kids. You hardly ever see complete families ever. But some do's and don'ts. There's some funny ones. Never kick a pigeon over there, because pigeons are related to the dove, and dove being a symbol of the Holy Ghost. If you kick a pigeon, it's very offensive to them. So the pigeons know that they rule the roost. They rule the cities. So they'll just be everywhere, and you'll just end up hating pigeons. And I remember once there was a pigeon flying, and I was just walking down the road, and the sidewalk, and the pigeon actually would not move to get out of the way of me. I had to get out of the way of the pigeon. So they know that they own the place. They never do this. We do that here all the time, when you're bored or something like that. But there's a very bad connotation to that over there. If you want, you can ask your trainers all about that. Never sit on the ground. According to the old Russian women especially, you'll go sterile. Never shake hands with someone over over the entryway, or like over a door frame. You would always have to be in their house, or they'd have to come out and shaking hands. Just kind of a bad luck, good luck thing. Then there's something called the skvozniak, which is a crossbreeze, and they hate crossbreezes. So oftentimes when you're on buses or on trams there, they'll have one whole side of their windows completely sealed, so you can't open them, and then one side you can open. And the reason is so that you can't get a cross breeze that if air goes from one window out through the other, they believe that you'll get cancer or something like that. So it's kind of another funny thing. Another thing, taboo thing, is never whistle, because that's apparently you'll lose all your money. And then it's very offensive to show the bottoms of your feet. So the typical American way to cross your legs, is like that. But over there, you end up crossing your legs like that. I don't know if that showed that, but oh well. It depended on the country where you were at for their beliefs. Russian Orthodox, that would be the main, especially if you're Russian speaking, that's the main religion that you're going to be around. And they're spread all throughout the Baltics. They're in each country. And then Estonia is very, very atheistic. I think it's ranked as the most atheistic country in the world. But other religions there are like Catholics. And then Catholics are in Lithuania as well. And then Latvia has mostly Protestants and like Lutherans and people like that. And then there's the Russian Orthodox, which is always like a big portion. As for their belief systems, they vary. They vary a lot. They value their families and people around them, but sadly, like I said before, there aren't too many like complete families. A lot of them believe in being extremely honest, like I kind of mentioned before. You can't beat around the bush or anything like that. They'll tell you exactly what they think. But the people are you end up loving the people, and most of the time, they choose to focus on the negatives of life, and that's kind of a tough thing over there. One thing that we always tried to combat as missionaries, especially because they've been oppressed so many times, and recently by the Soviets, a lot of the people, they kind of lost kind of hope and kind of a lot of the happiness, and so that was one of the things that we always tried to do, is bring happiness. Like over there, most people wouldn't smile, and if you were smiling, they'd think that you were weird, just out in public. But oftentimes missionaries would smile anyways, and sometimes we'd find investigators that way. Oftentimes I would hear stories of missionaries that would find their investigators and find members, people to be baptized, just because they were smiling or they were just appearing happy. And the people remarked that we always had a light in our eyes, or that we always had a light about our face, and they always wanted to know about that. They always wanted to know why, which was really, really cool, just to have them come up and ask, why are you so happy, or why are you this way? As for holidays, depends on the country where you're at. So like Lithuania, I swear, during the summer they would have holidays like every other day or every week. It was crazy. And I remember talking to one guy once and being like, what's up with all these holidays? And he's like, oh, everyone knows it's just a ploy from the beer companies to get people to drink more. So that was always kind of a funny thing. But there would be like weird holidays like John the Baptist's birthday or something like that. And, but then there'd be like traditional Russian holidays as well. And then they'd also typically, depends where you were at, but they'd also celebrate Russian New Year and regular New Year. And they'd also celebrate Russian Christmas and regular Christmas, and then Russian Easter and regular Easter. And so you would just end up like having two holidays, and you'd have to, most of the people, they celebrate our holidays, but the typical Russians, they celebrate the Russian holidays as well. So that was kind of fun.